Hello and welcome to the 19th episode of the PS Premiere podcast. I'm your host, James Smith, and today I'm joined by series regular Dory.
Hello, I am now qualified enough to be a series regular. Look at that, I've upgraded myself. You can find me at Declare192 on Twitter, where I am all abuzz about the latest news of insert excellent video game here.
Great. And we're also joined today by special guest, Dory's friend, and member of the Koneko Gaming Facebook group, avid PlayStation fan, Sam.
Hey, Vendor Peoples. How's it going?
Good to have you, Sam. We usually start out by talking about what we've all been playing the past week. So, Sam, we'll start with you this time since you're the guest of honor. You've been playing anything interesting?
Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I found that to be an amazing game.
Yeah. Just Valhalla? Anything else?
Going back a little bit to Rainbow Six.
You okay?
Other than that, sometimes I go back to Division. But no, mostly the Ubisoft titles, just fooling around with those.
Big Ubisoft fan. I like a bit of Rainbow Six Siege. I haven't been playing as much lately as I would like to, but I think that game's really in a good spot at the moment. Yeah, Dory, what were you? Anything you've been playing? Anything?
Yeah, I have been playing. Let's see, I've been finishing up Melody of Memory. I've got about 20 hours into it now. It's a really, like I said before, a really solid rhythm game. So I keep coming back to A rank. A lot of the games that are on, a lot of the songs that are at like the higher difficulties. Some of them I just can't get an A rank on. I just accept. I'm not looking to perfect everything, but would like to get A ranks at least. And then besides that, I have been doing a little bit of Hades. Still every now and then. It's just kind of my game to do. When I've got nothing else going, or when class is really boring or something like that, I'll just put up my Switch Lite and play that for about an hour and a half. Other than that, I haven't played them yet, but my mom got me for Christmas Ratchet and Clank, the remake of the original, that came out in 2016 for the PS4, and then also Squadrons, which I'm really excited to play.
Yeah.
So I haven't played those yet, but I'm really excited to.
I just signed up for a month of EA Play. So I've got Squadrons downloading, so I'll give that a try. The free trial of that, well, not free trial, but the 10-hour trial of that game. It should be fun.
I've just been
Ratchet and
delivered
Clank,
Eggnog. I want to let everyone know. I've just been delivered Eggnog, and oh my god.
You are very lucky. Let me just say that.
Oh my god.
Where's my eggnog? Nobody's delivering me eggnog.
I wish we could pass them right through the squares.
Yeah.
But that's not how space and time works.
Right. Well, anyway, yeah. I haven't been playing much this week, but I've been playing some Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I started that out as well, and I've also been playing Rocket Arena, which is an EA Originals title, which is free on PlayStation Plus this month. And I want to talk a bit about that, so I'll talk about that in a little bit. But for now, yes, and we've both been playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla. So you're a great many hours further in than I am. I've only played, I think, the opening mission or something like that. So is there anything about the game that stands out to you?
What stands out to me is that it tries to separate itself from the other Assassin's Creed titles by allowing you to both feel the brutality of being a Viking, while also with the cunning and finesse of being an assassin. And without getting too much into spoilers about it, I can't really go too far into that. But I can say that it's definitely a game that, long after I beat it now, I will definitely be going back again and again and again to play.
Yeah, I was really interested. Because you get the hidden blade, which is obviously a Assassin's Creed staple. You get that fairly early on in one of the first missions, and I was really interested with the way that they sort of gave you that and tied that into the other games. I think anyway, I haven't played any games other than this and Odyssey, but it seemed like they were sort of tying that in a clever way, other than just assassins, other than just Vikings happen to have hidden blades. It's a lot more clever than that. It's sort of put into the game. But yeah, I'm like I said, I'm only a few hours in, I don't know if it's really hooked me yet. I'm sure it will at some point because I have been enjoying it. It hasn't. I've not gotten to that point where it's like this is a game that I need to keep playing. But I have really been. Maybe it's because I've been using the photo mode so much. Which is coming off of Miles Morales. The photo mode is. I mean, Insomniac sort of ruined photo modes for everyone else, didn't they? With the photo mode in Miles Morales, because in that one you can add your own light sources and everything, and it's like such a game changer for photo modes that nothing can really even compete. And like Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it has a pretty good photo mode. I'd say it is lacking some features, but you just, no matter how good it is, unless it has those options, you just can't compete. So, I'm not sure about that. It's still fun to use though.
Yeah, it's definitely still fun to use. I haven't played Miles Morales yet. It's on my list, but so I don't exactly know what you. Yes, Dory, I know. So I don't exactly know what you're talking about. However, I do say that there are some things about the photo mode that are missing,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
it leaves kind of a redo feeling. Like, okay, we've done this before. What else you got for us?
Yeah, sure. And one thing that is also standing out to me is the setting in particular, because I, I didn't finish Odyssey because Jesus Christ, that's a long game. But I got quite far into it, and I think so far I prefer the Viking setting. I think it's a lot more interesting, and I think I like the way. I think I like the boats as well a lot more than the ones in Odyssey because they're smaller and it's sort of it feels more like you're with a crew. Because that's the thing; it's very sort of Viking-esque with the way the characters interact. Because you'll sort of be on the boat, and they'll be talking. But yeah, even though I think you're supposed to be like the leader of this group or higher up in this group, people who are sort of going out on raids and stuff with you will still be, throwing insults, throwing a bit of banter back and forth, and I like that sort of dynamic. And I think just in general, the Viking setting is a lot more interesting to me personally than Greek mythology.
Are you saying that you would rather rampage a village than have a nice philosophical discussion with Socrates in a video game? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's. I guess that's maybe why I liked games like God of War more than other games that have maybe used sort of Greek mythology, because just that setting and that mythology, that Norse mythology, is a lot more interesting. But yeah, one of the other things I noticed is that the voice acting for a lot of the NPCs is a little, maybe not the best. Like the voice acting for at least the female version of the main character Eivor is pretty good. It's tip top, but the rest of them maybe not so much. So yeah.
No, I
Sorry,
agree.
Sam.
There are some. No, you're fine. I agree. There are some parts that do make me think that the voice acting is a little almost robotic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little. It's maybe maybe they could have put some more effort into that area, but yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else that
I'm
you
curious
thought
how the
was
stealth
that you
is in the
enjoyed?
game. Are y'all enjoying like the stealth aspects of it?
Yeah, I think Sam, you'll probably have to speak to that a bit more because I haven't experimented with that too much.
There are some parts in the game with itself where it almost feels like you're all the way back to Assassin's Creed 1,
Huh.
where you're able to. Well, anyone who's played that game knows that you can hide yourself among groups of monks and use that to get around. That's one aspect that they brought back, which I found to be a very exciting part to bring back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Are
always
you
really liked that in Assassin's Creed 2 and 1, of course.
just real quick? What's your sort of history with the series? Are you a big Assassin's Creed fan, Sam?
Yeah, I've been playing since 2, but I went back to 1. Didn't beat it, but it's pretty fun.
Yep. Okay, so that's great. So yeah, overall thoughts on the game, or Dory, is there anything else actually that you are curious about?
I'm guessing it's a very visually stunning game, or at least visually interesting, given the setting and all
I
that.
think the thing is, right, for me, Ubisoft games, in motion at least, never really look that good.
Mm.
I think a lot of that is down to the animation quality. It's not. I mean, not every game has to be The Last of Us Part Two, right? But
Right.
they've always been on the rougher side, a little rougher on the edges. This is no different. It's a bit. You can tell it's a Ubisoft game, essentially.
Yeah. What did you think of it, Sam?
I thought that there were definitely points where it did seem rougher, where it almost seemed like it was already kind of degraded. However, there are also parts where I just couldn't help but to pause the game, put on photo mode, and just think, wow, this is extremely stunning and picturesque.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's why I'm glad it has a photo mode, because it looks a lot better when it's not in motion. Because I think a lot of that is on the animation. Graphics wise, it does look really good. I was particularly taken aback by the quality of the water. The water is really nice.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's all that I have after sort of playing only a few hours of it. Any sort of general thoughts, Sam, overall?
Overall, I think it's a great game. They definitely had a lot more weapons for you to use than in some of their previous titles. They also stayed away from some weapons that have been in the game since the beginning. One-handed swords.
I can't. I'm not sure. It's been a while since I played Odyssey, so I can't really remember. But I think the ability to dual wield weapons is a new thing in this.
Yeah, it can dual wield shields, can't you?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I haven't. Shields.
I haven't tried that yet. But I ran the old dual wield axes. The combat sort of seems a little. I like the attacks and that sort of thing, and the abilities that you can use. I think again, maybe with the animations, hitting enemies doesn't feel very weighty. It doesn't feel very overly satisfying. So I can see the combat maybe going a bit dull a little later. What do you think, Sam? Because you're obviously a lot further than I am.
I think the combat does get more lively. I found myself mostly relying on counters, waiting for the enemy to strike me before I strike them. One thing that the game is definitely missing is one-handed swords, which is missing from both a gameplay perspective and a historical perspective. There's no real explanation as to why that is at this time.
Sure. Yeah, that's a shame. It's difficult to talk about for me because I'm not that far in, but yeah, it seems mostly axes and shields at this point. So yeah, I'm sure it will get better as I sort of progress. But yeah, I've been enjoying it. I think I'll definitely go back to it and play some more. Like I said, it hasn't hooked me particularly yet, but I'm sure once I give it some more attention, it probably will. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good game overall. And as I said earlier, I've also been playing one of the PS Plus games this month, which is Rocket Arena, which is a game made by a developer whose name I don't recall off the top of my head. But it's an EA Originals title. EA Original is the indie umbrella within EA, where they publish indie titles. And the interesting thing about it is, they partner with these indie developers, and they put they front the costs for development, for advertising, and that sort of thing.
Nice.
And they recoup those costs that they put in, but then all the profits after that go to the developers. And they claim that the reason for that is because for them it's about sort of building bridges and building relationships with developers. which is really it's probably one of my personal favorite indie umbrellas in the industry. Next, it's up there with Annapurna and Devolver for me because they did A Way Out, which I was a big fan of. They did Sea of Solitude last year, which I was also a big fan of, and now I've been playing Rocket Arena, which is this really I didn't really think much of it. I just tried it on a whim because it's free on PlayStation Plus, like I said. But it's this really interesting sort of amalgamation of Smash Bros and Quake almost rolled into a third-person shooter.
Is that the one
Because
with all the rocket launchers that they showed off a couple months ago?
yeah, so it's I think they it was this year. Yeah, they announced that I think
That's when
during
they announced
their
like Skate 3 or something was in development and people rejoiced.
Skate 4, yeah,
Skate 4.
our new Skate game anyway. But yeah, during that event they announced this game, I think, or at least I hadn't seen it before. And it is, I didn't think much of it going in, other than, oh, that looks interesting. But it's really, it's probably the most unique competitive shooter that I've played since Overwatch. And it carries a lot of that style that Overwatch has with the different character designs and everything like that. But it's very much sort of, it's got a lot of sort of Quake DNA, where there's rocket jumping and everyone has a rocket, but with different abilities. And the sort of goal is like players don't have health pools. They have like a meter that you fill up like in Smash Bros. And that when that gets to full, you can hit them out of the map and then they fly back in.
Wow.
And it's basically like a third-person Smash Bros. With rockets.
Damn.
Which, I mean, on paper sounds incredible.
Yeah, that's a good pitch right there.
Yeah.
You should have been doing PR for them, James. Come on.
But yeah, it plays really well as well. And I've like the satisfaction of just knocking somebody out of the arena on its own is just incredible. Like they have like they have a the baseball sound effect where it's like a baseball bat hitting a ball.
Yeah.
Like that crack. It's like they play that sound effect when you hit somebody out of the arena, which is pretty funny. But yeah, it seems pretty well balanced. And it seems pretty unique, and it's honestly just a lot of fun. Like these sort of small maps on a 3v3 on these 3v3 game modes, and you've got different game modes. You've got like there's one where you have to carry a ball from the middle of the map to the enemy's goal, which is probably my least favorite, to be honest, because I can get a little annoying when you've got somebody stun locking you away from the ball. But yeah, there's other ones, just your regular sort of team deathmatch. There's this really cool one where you have to grab a chest, and the longer you hold on to the chest, the more coins you get, and that gives your team more points. And like it's just stuff like that. Like it's just a really fun game, and I don't think the player numbers are too high. I don't think it did very well, which is a shame, because it is genuinely some of the most fun I've had in a shooter for a long time.
Yeah. I'm curious, does every rocket, every hit from a rocket launcher, does that just do you in immediately? Is it like a one-hit thing, or?
No, so every hit with a rocket launcher increases your stun meter.
Oh, okay.
And once the stun meter is full, then if you get hit by another rocket, you go flying out of the map.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And that's you done. But yeah, like they've got like Overwatch abilities. Well, I say Overwatch abilities. It's not like that's an Overwatch specific thing,
Right.
character abilities. But yeah, the characters have abilities. They're all very well designed and quirky and everything like you'd expect from that kind of game. So yeah, I guess it's one of those games that sort of borrows from a lot of different games, but it does feel really unique. And honestly, it feels overlooked. Like because it takes like 5 minutes to find a match, which I feel like more people should be playing this game.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun game. If you have PS Plus, recommend checking it out. It's great. And speaking of games with interesting art styles, the Immortals Fenyx Rising, formerly known as Gods and Monsters,
Much better.
much better. the reviews for that game are out, and I think they're averaging around 7 to 8. I haven't checked the Metacritic store, but are either of you guys interested particularly in this game? I think that came out today as of the day of recording, which is Thursday.
Yeah, Sam, were you planning on getting this? Because I know I wasn't.
I was thinking about it a while ago, but I have not heard much about it since.
Yeah.
So it's kind of fallen off my radar.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's supposed to be a good game for folks who enjoy Assassin's Creed kind of games or open world games, so it might be up your alley. It might be something worth checking out. It's been getting pretty surprisingly good reviews. A lot of people are like, "Wow, I didn't expect this to, be so good, or to reinvent certain things, or to add its own little style." I remember one reviewer saying it was very fun. It was actually a very funny game, and they didn't expect it to be so funny, which was surprising to me. So, I mean, mostly positive reviews from what I've been hearing. I don't have much interest. I'm gonna finish up my 2020 playing games that are either a few years old, or Squadrons is like the exception in that case. But so I don't have any plans to pick it up, but I'm glad that it's getting good reviews.
What's interesting to me is I saw a few reviews that claimed it wasn't that funny, or maybe
Really?
or at least the humor was a bit poorly placed,
Sure.
if you will.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense because like obviously humor is not going to hit the same for everybody. And I only saw it from one reviewer that
Yeah,
I don't even remember who it is, but it makes sense to me that if there is a lot of humor in this game, it might not work. I mean, video games and humor, it's a tough combo. There's not a lot of video games out there that really pride themselves on being funny. I mean, I can only really think of like Portal as a one of the like standout examples, of being like a funny game that you might actually play just to laugh. But like, there's not a lot of them out there where,
maybe
I mean,
some
Grim
maybe
Fandango, maybe.
yeah, some Double Fine stuff,
Yeah, some
some
Double Fine
The
stuff.
Outer Worlds,
Yeah, Outer
different kind
Worlds
of
is pretty
humor.
funny, darkly funny. I mean, you need a
Yeah.
dark sense of humor for that game, but yeah.
A lot of what I've heard is that it's like Breath of the Wild, but a lot more systems heavy, more mechanics
Yeah.
and that sort of thing. And maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's not, depending on your tastes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm definitely interested in this game, and I would check it out if Cyberpunk wasn't coming out in a week. Well, I think, and you do have to sort of feel bad for them because they had the December release date before Cyberpunk did.
Yep.
So they sort of they probably were tried very carefully to avoid Cyberpunk, and then they
Yep.
just sort of moved into their territory. So that's a shame, but I'm sure it's a fun game. I'll maybe try out some point down the line. Speaking of Cyberpunk, and speaking of photo modes, actually, as we were earlier, they released a trailer for the photo mode Cyberpunk 2077. Big photo mode episode this week.
Shocking.
Did you guys? Yeah, it's shocking. Did you guys see the this trailer for the photo mode for Cyberpunk?
I heard about it, but I haven't really checked it out in any depth. I mean, as you know, I don't really have plans to pick it up. But I was surprised to see that they're only now promoting the photo mode. Sam, are you planning on getting Cyberpunk and the photo mode impressing you?
I definitely plan on getting it. I have not seen the photo mode, mostly because if I buy a game, I don't buy it for the photo mode. I buy it for the game and how it.
See, that's where we differ, because I buy games exclusively for the photo mode.
If James could buy a video game called Photo Mode, he would.
Yeah, absolutely.
The gaming photographer. Okay.
I mean, I honestly should probably just buy a camera at this point.
Probably.
But yeah, no, it has a lot of interesting features. Like you can like rotate the character and put them in different poses and change the size of them or the scale, make them appear closer to the camera or something like that. Which I didn't expect, but obviously the one thing it's missing is the ability to change the light sources. But all photo modes are just ruined now. There's nothing you can do about it.
That's right. The only thing you can do is now emulate Miles Morales. Otherwise, I mean, it's just over for you. At least in the eyes.
They really should. I mean, they should, because it's such a those photo mode options were such an advancement for photo modes in general. I mean, they really. I maybe it's difficult to implement or something like that, or it's not worth it for most developers. But I really think they should start implementing that in all the games, every
It
game.
makes for some stunning photos. I've seen some of the photos
Yeah.
you put up and other folks have put up with different light sources.
Definitely, yeah. If you like the photos I've put up, then you should just wait till you see the photos that anyone else has put up, because I guarantee you they're better. But yeah, not a lot more to say about that. It looks like there's a lot of settings. It looks good. Also, they're putting Kratos in Fortnite.
Yeah, what can you even say?
Anyway, so next in the news this week, this news sort of broke just before we started recording, a couple hours before we started recording here. Casey Hudson and Mark Darrah, who are the studio head and the executive producer on Dragon Age 4, respectively, are both leaving Bioware, that seems like a pretty big blow, because I think those were, other than Mike Gamble, who I think is still there, I think those are probably the two of the only big names left at that studio.
What makes it worse is that one of them had already left previously, came back to handle or help out with Anthem, and then is now leaving a couple years after Anthem has come out. So this is just not good, and probably doesn't spell good news for the Mass Effect trilogy remaster next year.
Yeah. Well, I imagine the Mass Effect trilogy, that's probably mostly done at this point, and also it's probably, from what I understand, very technical based, which doesn't require maybe a lot of as much leadership as something like a new project where you have to sort of direct everything. I think this will be a bigger blow for Dragon Age 4. Probably. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that game now, and it'll also be interesting to see like who takes over the studio, because obviously Casey Hudson was the studio head at BioWare.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Maybe it'll be Mike Gamble will be the new studio head. Who knows?
Somebody whose last name is Gamble at the head of a studio associated with EA.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Yeah. Sam, are you a big fan of BioWare, or are you a little fan of BioWare games?
I love Mass Effect, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that they make another one. But
that gives me a nice segue into our next topic, actually, because I think there's not much more to say on that. But Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which is a game that I'm very much looking forward to playing, because I haven't played the original. And I'm very much anticipating that game coming out next year, which brings me to our next topic, which is our most anticipated games for 2021. So, Dory, what are you excited for next year?
Yeah, so I've got about 11 games, maybe 11-ish games. I'm really excited for. My top 5 is just like God of War. I think kind of Bridge of Spirits is on there as well.
I forgot God of War was supposedly coming out next year.
Yeah, and I should add, I don't know that God of War is actually going to come out next year, but if it does, it is my most hotly anticipated. Right now, they haven't said otherwise, so I have to put it on the list. But I have deep reservations about it actually coming out there, I should say. But Horizon Zero, Forbidden West is probably number 2. Ratchet and Clank, or Resident Evil is number 3. Ratchet and Clank number 4, and probably Kenna Bridge of Spirits is number 5.
Just blasted through those, huh?
Well, I guess cool. I didn't know how it was, so.
No, that's okay. Yeah, so that's a big list. I've got a few of those on my list. Ratchet and Clank, I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah.
I mean, anything Insomniac does, that's going to be fantastic, right? But yeah, I think Sony in particular has a big roster for next year. Between Ratchet and Clank, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War, and Gran Turismo 7. I mean, it's pretty stacked.
Yeah.
In terms of exclusives, if those all do come out next year, which obviously one can never be too sure, especially in the midst of a global pandemic. Sam, are you looking forward to anything next year?
Yeah, at the moment I'm looking forward to Battlefield 6, Horizons Forbidden West, Hitman 3, because apparently this is supposed to be the final chapter to the Hitman series they have going on,
Yeah.
and I've always been a big Hitman fan.
Is that before the new ones or starting with?
Oh yeah, even before the new ones.
Yeah, I think because the new ones have been quite different, I think, from the older ones. I've never really gone past dabbling in that series, and I sort of bounced off the first of the new ones, because it's sort of like a puzzle in the form of an assassination game, because you sort of have to figure out a ways to take people out, and I don't know, it requires more patience than I probably have. But I do think it's really interesting the way that they've made these games and the way that they've sort of released them as three separate products, but they all sort of tie in together. Like you can play the levels from Hitman 1 in Hitman 2 and that sort of thing. And it's sort of like maybe it's more like a TV series in that way in some respects. I think it's really unique, and I think it's probably a format that more games should adopt. Especially like it works really well with the Hitman series and that style of game as well. But yeah, I've also got Battlefield 6 on my list. I don't remember if there was. I think the most official confirmation we've had of it coming out next year is some kind of earnings call from EA where they said something that alluded to it. But whatever it is, it'll probably be. Hopefully, it's another modern one because I'm not a big fan of like the World War One and the World War Two games. Like at this point, it feels a bit dry. What about? Are you a fan of those games, Sam, or do you prefer the modern ones?
I like both. I think they should be switching off.
Yep.
Because I'm always a big fan. I actually got into Battlefield around Battlefield 3. So I started off with the modern, and then I went back with Battlefield 1.
Battlefield 3 was one of my first ones. I spent a lot of countless hours in that game. I played my first one was Bad Company 2, which I also have a lot of fun. Like I'd love a new Bad Company game, but I don't think they probably wouldn't do it justice. They probably wouldn't be able to rekindle the magic of that.
But James, you already have Bad Company right here. Thank you.
Speak for yourself.
That'll be my bad joke. I do want to add, by the way,
you've reached your bad quote joke. You've reached your bad joke quota for the week. Congratulations.
I think I need to start having that with you too.
I do want to mention also a couple weird ones on my list. I'm looking forward to Gotham Knights, which is coming out next year. I'm tenuously interested and excited about it. I want it to be good. It's got Red Hood in it, and I love Red Hood, and I always love them exploring that character because it's one of the most interesting characters I think in the Batman universe, or sort of Bat family. And so I'm really excited to see what'll happen. I will probably be picking that up, even if it gets kind of middling or average reviews. I don't see it getting any higher than 70s or 80s on Metacritic. But we'll see. I mean, maybe it'll surprise and dazzle. I hope so. I definitely want that studio to be doing well. And then I'm also looking forward to Chris Tales, which is a RPG I played earlier this year. Chris Tales is actually coming out early 2021. I'm not sure exactly when, January, February, maybe. That's a turn-based RPG, which I don't usually play, but it's got a very lovely art style, interesting game mechanics. So that's kind of hooking me in. And then I don't know if you remember this game, James, from the PlayStation event earlier this year, but Goodbye Volcano High.
I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. This is like a fun, sort of like I don't know, interactive novel kind of game or kind of vibes. And there's like a non-binary character and stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited for the inclusion aspect, and it looked very interesting and stylistically interesting as well.
Yeah, it had a very eye-catching art style. Yes, that one
for sure.
No, I'm really excited for Gotham Knights as well. Not so much Chris Tales myself because that's not my kind of game. I also played the demo this year, but yeah, Gotham Knights. out of the two games that they showed, the Rocksteady one, the Suicide Squad one, and this, surprisingly, this is the one that at least I was the most excited for.
I think that's the general consensus. I'm more excited for Gotham Knights than I am for Suicide Squad. I mean, and it matters that they've shown off ample gameplay from Gotham Knights, and they haven't shown a lick of gameplay from Suicide Squad. Did you see those trailers, Sam?
I did, yeah. And I gotta agree. I am all for Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad. Honestly, even when we do start seeing gameplay trailers for, I'm still gonna say I'm probably gonna wait until probably a few weeks after it came out, see what the actual reviews on it are, because it does not sound like an appealing game.
Yeah, it's I think it's going to be a live service game, which is, I mean, in my books, that's a bit, maybe wait and see, especially with Anthem and Marvel's Avengers and stuff coming out and sort of showing that. I can't remember if there's actually ever been a Destiny that's come out that's actually not been bad at launch or broken in some form.
Yeah,
I'm having trouble thinking of one. But yeah, that's not coming out till 2022, I think, at the earliest anyway. So that one's still a ways off. But yeah, I'm really excited for Gran Turismo 7, which Dory you'll probably not be surprised by. Because I'm really mostly I'm interested to see how, because it looks very much like Gran Turismo Sport. They don't seem to have updated the graphics very much. I mean, apart from probably adding ray tracing. But it looks very similar. I'm not sure. I think we've probably reached that level of graphics where it's going to start getting better in increments rather than in huge leaps. But it'll be interesting to see what they do with the DualSense controller, with the triggers and the haptic feedback and stuff. I think a racing game is probably really going to benefit from that stuff. And a couple of sort of smaller ones that I'm excited for are the Stanley Parable. That's getting a console launch with some new endings. And the Stanley Parable is just an incredible game. I don't know if you guys have played.
Yeah, I've played Stanley Parable a lot. I almost like, as soon as you started talking about the Stanley Parable, I heard the narrator's voice in my head, and I was thinking to myself, James is getting excited about Stanley Parable. James wants to talk about Stanley Parable, but yeah,
because that's such a unique game, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really good.
Like, it's like, because it's like, it takes what, like half an hour to get to the end.
Yep.
But it's just like, it's so infinitely replayable.
Yep. I've spent hours in that game, despite it being, like you said, pretty linear, pretty easy to finish. I love the humor in it. It's very funny. There's all these hidden endings that you can see. I mean, the best part about the internet is that you don't even have to get all of the endings. I've looked up a couple endings that even I couldn't find, and I spent hours with it. It's just a really enjoyable game that has lots of funny. That's another game that's one of those games that's like, you would actually play partly for the humor. I mean, also I think partly for the philosophical experience, or the sort of philosophical intrigue you might get from playing it. Definitely it's more humor based than the beginner's guide is anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And the other smaller game that I'm interested in as well is, I don't know if you guys have heard of Pekken. No clue?
Is that a bird-based Tekken game?
It is, actually.
What?
That's exactly what it is. I have no idea if this is actually coming out next year or if coming out at all. But this is a while back. I think it was the year before last, maybe, or it could have been even before that. No Code, who you might know as the Glasgow-based developer behind the horror game Observation. I think the studio head over there, John McKellen, put out a tweet in the run-up while they were still developing Observation, showing off this sort of game that they made for like a game jam or something, where it was basically just Tekken with birds. And it was the best thing I've ever seen, because they're sort of like, is very sort of rough. They're all very sort of polygonal and everything. But they just looked fantastic. And the tweet sort of blew up a bit. And he put out another tweet after that saying, if this tweet gets like 10,000 retweets, then we'll actually make Pekin after observation is shipped. And it got the retweets.
Wow.
So, we're still waiting. Let's make it happen.
Yeah,
And
back in 2021,
he actually put out a tweet, I think yesterday or the day before, asking for advice on starting a Kickstarter. So fingers crossed he's starting a Kickstarter for Pekin.
Nice.
Because I really want to see that game.
That sounds great.
I think hopefully if they do make it, they don't run into any copyright issues with the name. But other than that, for me, I'm looking forward to Rainbow Six Quarantine. Obviously, a different kind of game from Rainbow Six Siege. Probably one that's going to run alongside Rainbow Six Siege.
I'm looking forward to the sequel, Rainbow Six. I'm not in quarantine anymore. That'd be a good one.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of the reason they delayed it.
Yeah,
that actually was the reason they delayed it. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah,
Really?
I believe what they said was that they delayed it because they felt it'd be in bad taste to release a game called Quarantine in the middle of a virus.
That would be in bad taste. I can agree with that.
Well, if that is the reason, then I support it. Yeah.
Whenever that does come out, I think that would be great because the old Rainbow Six Vegas 2 was. I know it's probably not going to be anything like that, but I always enjoyed those games when they were sort of single player against AI. I love Rainbow Six Siege now that it's in its current state, but I think those games are great against AI. Hopefully Rainbow Six Quarantine is sort of as tactical as those, and it's not just another, horde based game where you're just shooting a bunch of zombies or something. Because I'm not sure I would find that very fun. But yeah, you're a Rainbow Six Siege fan, Sam. So you'll be looking forward to this one as well, right?
I am. Yeah, I think they're basing it around the quarantine event they had a few years back.
Oh yeah, right.
What if they made a game about that?
I think that was before I started playing. What happened in that event? What was that about?
So the event was a meteor crashed into a small town in, I think it was Nevada, and with the meteor came a biological, essentially an alien virus that took over people and turned them into The Walking Dead. It gave them supernatural powers, and so you and the Rainbow Six team need to go in teams of 3, I believe, and complete various missions in order to get rid of the virus.
Yeah, and that's the nuts thing to me about Rainbow Six Siege, and those events that they do, because it's like if you play Overwatch, which I used to play a lot of Overwatch, they do yearly events, and every year they have this event called Archives, where they do these sort of co-op story missions, and every subsequent year they'll make a new one and they'll let you play all the old ones as well. They'll bring the previous event content back. And the bizarre thing, about Rainbow Six Siege to me is they put all this effort into these really unique game modes, and then we just never see them again. They're just one and done, completely gone, never to be brought back. Because I'd love to try out that sort of quarantine mode that they had, but it seems as though that's it. I've missed my chance, which is a shame.
Yeah, I realized once they announced the new game coming out that the reason why they had that quarantine mode was probably just to feel out if this would be a viable product, if there'd be something that they could actually turn into a real game.
Yeah, sure. I don't. Did you enjoy that mode when it was out?
I did. I actually left Rainbow Six Siege a few years earlier and came back solely for that mode, and then left it again. Now I can have an on again, off again relationship with it.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully that does make a good full game then. but yeah, what other games are you, are you guys excited for any other games, or is that
Yeah,
your
I
list?
got a couple odds and ends. You know, I'm still excited for Mass Effect Legendary Edition. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out. Hopefully, like you said, it doesn't require a lot of those people who just left. I'm excited. I'm weirdly kind of excited for Psychonauts 2. I haven't finished Psychonauts yet on my PC, but I've been really enjoying it. It's really fun. And the platforming is a lot more fun than I expected. I've been obviously enjoying the humor. I like Grim Fandango, so Psychonauts is pretty easy layup for me. So I'm excited to see what Schaefer and Double Fine do for Psychonauts 2. That should be cool. And then another weird one I'm kind of excited for is Vampire the Masquerade, Bloodlines 2. I never played the original, but I've gotten way more into RPGs in the past few years. Sam here actually plays D&D with me. We're on the Dungeon Master,
Mhm.
so along with some other students. Um, and so you know, so I've gotten more into RPGs and kind of the history of tabletop RPGs and stuff. So I've learned about Vampire the Masquerade through that. I think I was vaguely aware of the video game before, but it's, you know, pretty much a cult classic in retrospect, even if it has some flaws. And so I'm excited to see what they do with this one. I do like me a good action RPG game where you can make your own character and pick your own path and stuff like that. I'm hoping it does better than Vampire does or Vampire.
Yeah, I'm quite interested in that game as well. They had a really sort of gripping trailer. I think it was at the PC gaming show um this year, possibly, or maybe some other event. But I'm interested in that game, but it's a little concerning. Oh, it seems to have been with like delays and uh sort of higher end um talent leaving the project. It seems a little concerning.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that game is. I'm not sure if it's going to end up good at this point.
Yeah, I hadn't
Hopefully
heard
it
about
does. But
talent leaving. I have obviously I'm aware of the delay and stuff like that. I think it was supposed to come out in Christmas, right, or December, something like that.
yeah, something like that.
But yeah, yeah, that stinks. I hope it still turns out good. Um, I do want to say just after playing RE7 this year, I am really looking forward to RE8 and what it has to offer. I thought RE7 was a really good game. Definitely put the horror back in. And I mean, none of these takes should be new, but and I have a whole video about it, by the way. Plug.
Yeah, check that out.
But you know, I think it definitely put the horror back in survival horror. And you know, it's I thought it was a really fun game. So I'm excited to see what they'll do. I mean, it looks like they've got werewolves and witches. You know, Chris is back. You know, Ethan is for some reason there. So
Is Chris the one in the key art?
uh, in the what?
In the the cover art for the game?
Oh, the key art. I
Yeah.
don't know. That is I think I've seen some speculation. I might be making this up, but I think I've seen some speculation that Chris is going to turn to a werewolf or something, or some weird which
That would be truly nuts.
that
I'm
would
not.
be. I
I'm not a
mean,
big RE fan, but
honestly, come on, like Resident Evil 5 spoilers here, but I mean,
oh, none for me. None for me.
I'm just gonna say it. There was a big volcano and rocket launchers were involved. I won't say anymore, but uh, absolutely bonkers stuff has happened in the Resident Evil universe. I would not be super surprised.
Sure, because
Also,
I was going to
Chris
say
punched a boulder.
whoever it is in the key art looks a lot like Carl Urban, um, which is probably not related to anything, but I thought it was interesting.
Sam, do you have any other
Yeah.
picks?
For me, it has to be Far Cry 6, which, other than a cinematic trailer, I haven't really heard anything about it.
Also
Just how,
delayed a little bit. That was supposed to come out in January,
yeah,
right?
yeah, that was delayed, unfortunately. So I haven't heard anything else about it since that trailer. I don't know if either of you have. But
No, I haven't. But I was a big fan of not the cinematic trailer that they did, but I was a big fan of the title sequence that they released. Like that was, it felt really. what is it like a Bond movie intro? You know, that was really incredible stuff. But yeah, I think that game will be interesting. It doesn't seem like it's going to break the Far Cry 6. It doesn't feel like it's going to break the Far Cry mold. It feels like it'll be another Far Cry game. So I guess if you like those games, that's probably a good thing. But yeah, it looks like an interesting setting as well. It's Cuba, I believe, or probably a fictional version of. And it's going to have the person whose name I can't remember, who was in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, I was just thinking about him too. I can't remember his name either. I do not know his name.
I'll look that up. I don't know if you have anything else to add on that, Sam.
I'm still curious about. I'm not going to go into spoilers here, but after the event, how they're following with the events of Fallout 5, or not Fallout 5, Far Cry 5.
Right.
I'm not
I think
going
didn't
to
they follow up?
about it, so.
Didn't they? Wasn't New Dawn sort of a sequel to that?
It was. I'm just wondering if this is considered a different universe, if this is before that, this is after that.
Right.
If this is just a different place, so it doesn't affect it at all.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. It's Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes, Esposito. I thought it was Escobar, and it was I know it was S something, but I couldn't remember what. That's why I didn't say it, because I knew I was going to make a fool out of myself.
Big talent, though. That's a big catch. So yeah, he's a really good actor. So hopefully he gives a good performance in that.
He's great in Breaking Bad, and then he's also great in Dear White People. So that's
right.
Also in that.
Yeah. As for me, my last one is Final Fantasy. One that I just sort of threw on here when I remembered about it is Final Fantasy 16, because I think there's no official release date for that or even a release window, but I think based on what I've heard, it seems like there's a decent chance at least it'll come out next year. If not, then the year after.
That combat looks really good. It looks more like the kind of combat that I don't mind, because usually I'm right there with you, James, that I don't. We were talking about turn-based RPGs earlier, and yeah, I'm not really into them either. They're often too slow. I mean, the only exception I'll make is Pokemon, and honestly, a lot of that is nostalgia. Excuse me. A lot of that's nostalgia, and just loving that universe so much that I don't mind. But I mean, there's definitely parts where during a Pokemon battle, I'll be like, all right, can we speed through this? Can we speed through this? So I'll just be mashing the A button or whatever. So yeah, definitely excited. It seems like they're going the more action RPG route or real time stuff.
Yeah, it looks like it's real time combat. Which makes sense obviously because 15 and 7 remake were both real time combat. So it'll be interesting to see how they build off the combat in 7, or maybe they'll build off the combat from 15, because I think it'll be a different team than the one that's working on the remakes. But it certainly it looks fantastic. I said this at the time, I think, when it was revealed, but it looks kind of like a departure from normal sort of Final Fantasy stuff. Yeah. It looks sort of, because it's got that sort of Game of Thrones medieval type deal going on, a lot more blood than usual. But it does look interesting.
Did it get a rating?
And also they released sorry?
Did it get a rating? I don't remember if it got a rating.
I think it was an 18, PEGI 18, which will be M probably for, in the Americas.
That's wild. Has there been a Final Fantasy game that's M for mature before?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not sure though. Don't quote me on that. I'm probably not the person to ask.
Sure. Not either.
But yeah, they released some concept art, and it's like they've got these huge cities with these big crystals towering over them, and it looks fantastic. It looks unlike anything else. So I'm really excited for that. So that's all I've got. I don't know about you guys. Is that the last of everything you're looking forward to for next year?
Yeah, we've covered just about everything.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Horizon Forbidden West should be really good. I'm really excited for that. And how they kind of like expand the open world and keep it from getting monotonous or keeping it from making it rewarding. There's definite things to improve on the original as much as I do like it. And yeah, I'm hoping to get to the Ratchet and Clank game that I talked about earlier before I play Rift Apart. But I'm not too worried about it either way. But yeah, that's all I really have.
Yeah, Ratchet and Clank 16 is a weird one because I really enjoyed it because I think those games are more about the gameplay than the story. Though I think series fans probably disagree, and that's why a lot of fans of that series, like diehard fans, don't like that game because it sort of, I think, it took the story of the first game and twisted it a little bit, which makes sense because it's told through the eyes of like it's not exactly what's meant to have happened. It's told through Captain Quark, is it?
Yes.
That guy.
Yeah. That guy.
Which I thought was a really interesting way of sort of telling that story. But yeah, lots to look forward to next year.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this. Dory, I don't know if you've watched this week's Min-Max show yet.
I haven't gotten to it.
Okay, excellent. So you'll see why in a second. But are you guys familiar with the Crusader Kings 3 patch notes?
I am familiar with Crusader Kings 3 and the fact that you can make horrible looking babies or horrible looking characters. Yeah, I'm familiar with the title. Sam, are you familiar with it?
No, I'm not familiar with the title or anything about it.
So essentially, Crusader Kings 3 is this big. It's kind of like Civilization, I suppose. I have no idea what Civilization is like, but as somebody who has no idea what those games are like, it's sort of like it's like a sort of overworld strategy game where you've got a big map and you guide troops and stuff, and you can sort of live out a life as a king of something or a queen of something, and sort of initiate wars and do all this sort of like real world simulaty stuff, which interestingly enough makes for some very strange patch notes. So I wrote into the Min-Max show with this game. Essentially, it's a list of Crusader Kings 3 patch notes. Some of them are real patch notes. Some of them are ones that I've made up. There's not a lot of them, but essentially, if you guys want to play this just now, you have to guess which ones are real and which ones are fake. Pretty simple. Okay, you guys up for it?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, great. So the first one. Children can become more inclined to drink later in life if their guardians are a poor influence. Real or fake?
I'm going to say that's real.
Yeah,
Sam?
that's real.
That is indeed real. Congratulations. Off to a flying start. The next one. Wards will no longer apologize after an unsuccessful assassination attempt. Real or fake?
That does sound
Wait,
like a video.
apologize to who? Apologize to the target or apologize to their mentor?
Apologize, I assume, to the target.
Okay, so
which being the player.
Huh.
I think that's true. That sounds like a real video game thing that would happen.
You think it's fake, Sam?
I'm gonna say it's fake.
You're gonna say it's fake. Sam is in fact correct.
Damn it.
It's fake. I made that one up. The next one.
I mean, it should be in there. Yeah,
It should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The Cucumber King is no longer unintentionally a kinslayer due to a wrongly assigned father.
Can you repeat that?
The hell?
Sure, certainly. The Cucumber King is no longer unintentionally a kinslayer due to a wrongly assigned father.
No longer a Kingslayer.
Kinslayer, K-I-N.
Kin. Okay.
Real or fake?
That's so ridiculous. I'm gonna presume it's true.
Yeah, I'm gonna go true.
That is, in fact, a real patch note from Crusader Kings 3.
Wow.
I have no idea who the Cucumber King is, but that's fantastic.
I love cucumbers. I gotta talk to this man.
I like this one. Characters are no longer angry at their new friends.
That's really
Real or fake?
generic. I don't know. And seems weird. I'm gonna say fake.
I'm gonna say it's fake.
You're both wrong. That one is a real Crusader Kings 3 patch note.
Oh my god.
Okay.
The next one is fixed a child's favorite toy, crashing the entire game.
That's definitely true because that absolutely sounds like video games to me.
Yeah, that's probably true.
That one is true. That's a real patch note.
Of course.
Oh my god.
The Pope can no longer initiate a holy war on the player's faction. Real or fake?
I'm gonna say that's fake.
I guess I'll. Oh, I don't even know if the Pope is in the frickin' game. I know nothing about it. Yeah, I guess I'll go with true. One of us will be right.
That one is fake.
Damn.
Unless I made that one up.
The Pope can always initiate a war. Always.
Always.
Yeah, the Pope is a tyrannical fool.
Now let's just flip that and put that out of context. Put that on Twitter. Tag a few people.
Oh no. Okay. The next one. If you try to make too many children your wards, you'll now be told off in a strongly worded letter.
I think that's true. That's so ridiculous. Also, I think I vaguely remember hearing about that patch note from a min-max server.
All right, I'm gonna trust you on this story. I'm gonna go true.
That's true. That's a real one.
Always trust
Congratulations,
me, Sam. I'll never lead you astray, except when I team party kill.
And the last one is intelligent women no longer confront their pregnant lesbian lover to ask if they are the father of that child. Stupid women, however, still have a chance to ask that question.
Okay, wait. Go back. What is it again?
I will repeat. Okay. Intelligent women no longer confront their pregnant lesbian lover to ask if they are the father of that child. Stupid women, however, still have a chance to ask that question. Real or fake?
This is some top-notch stuff. It's so absolutely ridiculous. So I'm gonna say fake.
I'm gonna say fake. Yeah.
Oh, you're wrong. That is a real Crusader Kings 3 patch note. That's probably my favorite one. That one's a bit ridiculous. Right. That's all we have in terms of the patch notes. But there's a ton of them. I recommend going and reading those because they're absolutely fantastic.
Like it.
Probably the best patch notes since The Sims. But yeah, that's all we have for you today. So thanks for joining us. Sam, I don't know if you have anything you want to plug.
No, thank you for having me.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. In terms of what we have, I think hopefully by the time this podcast goes up, Dory's Melody of Memory review will be on the channel. And also the coming week, we have a review of Ghost Runner coming up, which was supposed to come out this week, but I ran into some issues regarding gameplay. So, whoops. Anyway, that's all we have coming up immediately. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.